The bow and arrows have been used as weapons worldwide since ancient times. There are various sizes and types, including large and small ones, as well as crossbows. The bows used on Japanese battlefields are referred to as yumi. While I will discuss the history of Japanese bows later, what are their distinctive features? The most notable characteristics of the Japanese bow is its length. While Western bows have a total length of about 63 inches, standard Japanese bows are about 87 inches long, making them the longest in the world. This length far exceeds the height of the user. Due to this length, arrows shot from the bow delivered tremendous force, with a maximum range exceeding 437 yards. Because of their considerable length, Japanese bows were not gripped at the center but rather slightly lower, around 2/3 of the way up from the bottom. Given their length and considerable weight, handling them was very challenging, and mastering their use required extensive training. Additionally, there are structural differences in the construction of the bow. While Western bows have separate parts such as the handle and limbs, the Japanese yumi is a single, continuous piece from the bottom to the top. It is unclear exactly when the bow and arrow began to be used in Japan, but it is known that they have been in use for several thousand years. Excavations have uncovered bows and arrows that appear date back to ancient times, and back then arrowheads were made of stone. Around the 3rd century BCE, iron and bronze were introduced from the continent, leading to a rapid evolution of the bow and arrow. Copper and iron were used for arrowheads, significantly increasing their effectiveness. From this period onward, bows and arrows were used not only for hunting but also in warfare. At that time, both short bows, which were less than 63 inches long, and longer bows were used. During the Kofun period, which lasted from the 3rd to the 7th century, bows became longer. Long bows with a total length of around 79 inches became the standard. Bows this length were primarily used by infantry, while shorter bows were used by cavalry. It is worth noting that the bows of this time had a simple structure, made by carving natural wood into a round shape. The evolution of the bow in Japan continued, and by the mid-Heian period, the composite bow emerged. Until then, bow had been made from a single material, but the new design involved laminating bamboo on the outside of wooden core, resulting in increased power. During this era, the samurai appeared in Japan, and the style of combat shifted from foot soldiers to one centered around mounted archery. The bow became the primary weapon on the battlefield. Many illustrated scrolls depicting battles from this period show samurai on horseback, wielding bows. The emergence of the samurai also led to significant advancement in Japanese archery techniques. Archery was divided into two main styles, shooting at close-range targets from horseback and shooting at long-range targets on foot. The former, mounted archery, was particularly emphasized. Since mounted archers had to accurately hit targets while riding on horseback, it required a high level of skill. Only elite samurai rode horses at that time, and they honed their archery skills daily in preparation for battles. At the time, the bow was considered a symbol of the samurai's weapon. Proficiency in archery was a source of pride for the samurai. They would often inscribe their names on their arrows to ensure their deeds were known if they defeated an enemy. This background led to the rise of many renowned archers. Nasuno Yoichi, who served under the shogun Minamoto no Yoritomo, and Fujiwara no Hidesato, a legendary founding figure among samurai, are famous for their exceptional archery skills and are still talked about today. Entering the Kamakura period, bows and arrows were made even longer to increase their power as weapons. The length of bows reached up to about 87 inches, and some were reportedly over 118 inches long. At that time, battles in Japan followed a specific sequence. When both armies faced each other, the commanders would first announce their names to each other. Next, both sides would shoot whistling arrows high into the sky as a signal to commence battle. Then, a phase called yaikusa, where mounted warriors engaged in archery combat, would begin. After shooting all their arrows, the battle would transition into close combat, with infantry wielding melee weapons joining the fray. Thus, battles fought with bows often determined the outcome of conflicts. Afterward, Japan experienced invasions by Mongol forces, leading to a gradual shift from battles dominated by cavalry to those centered on infantry-based mass combat. In the 15th century, Japan entered the Sengoku period, a time of widespread conflict among samurai throughout the country. During this era, the bow continued to play a vital role as a primary weapon. With the shift towards large-scale infantry-based group battles, organized archery units would line up in dense formation and fire volleys of arrows at enemy forces. It is said that the aim was not so much to target individual enemies accurately, but rather to impede the enemy army's advance. In the mid-16th century, during the peak of samurai warfare, Portuguese traders introduced matchlock guns to Japan. The samurai were astonished by the power of these firearms, and renowned warlords like Oda Nobunaga and Tokugawa Ieyasu eagerly incorporated them into their armies. As matchlock guns began to be mass-produced, the bow gradually ceased to be the primary weapon of war. The bows not used on the battlefield were studied by the samurai of peaceful eras as a martial art, eventually establishing Kyudo. Today, like Kendo and Judo, Kyudo is widely practiced across Japan, with over 100,000 competitors nationwide. High school students make up half of these competitors, and in Aichi Prefecture, half of the high school have Kyudo clubs. These students compete in Kyudo skills all over Japan every day. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, giving a like, and leaving plenty of comments. Until next time, sayonara.